Hey everybody, it's the Economancy. It's been a while since we talked about economics or sociology. Today I kind of wanted to jump into something that's kind of personal. We did a lot of videos where we were talking about class consciousness, right? And, it's something that I tend to have strong arguments against. But I do want to point out that I myself deal with issues associated with class consciousness. So what does this mean? So first of all, I grew up, you know, not well off, to say the least. And, I was working full-time blue-collar work at the age of 16. And I worked, 3 years almost blue-collar, left that, joined the military, got out, worked blue-collar for a little bit more until I started going to college. And then worked, at least part-time or in between semesters and stuff like that in blue-collar work for the most part for quite a substantial amount of time. So I worked blue-collar off and on for 13, 14 years. And one of the things that always kind of like took me by surprise was when I would be like walking down the street, like going to my classes, carrying my book bag and stuff. And, there would be people out there and they would be doing landscaping or something along those lines. And it always made me feel like, oh, they're judging me because here I am, some quote unquote rich kid just going to college, never having to work a day in my life. And I was like, I hope they realize, like, no, I come from a blue collar background. I worked hard. I got this through my work. This wasn't something that was given to me. And so when we talk about class consciousness, I think that's something that's got to be brought up into the conversation. What is class consciousness for other people? Because for me, that's what class consciousness is. And that's something that weighed heavily on my mind and soul. And it still, for the most part, does. I still, when I walk down the street and I see someone, I was a plumber for a little bit. When I see a plumber's truck or something, pull up beside them, and they like look at me, whether I'm in a suit and tie or whether I'm in, I guess you could say like casual. I still feel like they're looking at me like, oh, look at this guy. You have no idea what it's like to work. And it's really like this judgment on myself where I feel like to some extent I am a class trader. Like I should have stayed in the trades. I should have stayed working blue collar, but that wasn't for me. I enjoyed it. I loved it, but it wasn't for me. And, that's something that individuals have to come to terms with. And I think a lot of this critical consciousness and stuff like that is really trying to tap into certain people's feelings associated with that, which always brings me up to, I guess you could call them the champagne socialists, right? Like individuals who grew up well-to-do that end up becoming socialists or left-leaning or whatever. And why there's that dichotomy now of like the working class or the very hard blue-collar types end up being more involved with the Republicans, and then on the other side, obviously. But at the same time, I get why. The incentive structures are different, and those are gonna have like differential impacts on individuals. Education has a differential impact on individuals and stuff like that. But when we're talking about critical pedagogy, whether it's critical race theory or critical class consciousness and stuff like that, you as a parent on this one, you have to realize like what you're ingraining into your children, what your children's life is going to look like down the road, right? Like if they do end up, taking part of blue collar because you come from a blue collar background, they're going to be associating themselves with that. And that might be something that gets, used against them or not. For me, it made me really proud that I worked hard and got to where I was at. Not that I pulled myself up by my bootstraps with no help. I had plenty of help. I actually think that's a silly way to go through life, is to think that you did it all by yourself. I didn't do it all by myself. I had plenty of people there to help me. I had my wife helped me through a lot of things. I had friends, family. It might not have all been like, strict monetary gain, but there's some trade-off. There's some interdependent utility maximization for other people that I knew that helped me plenty to get to where I'm at. But I did put in a lot of the work on my own. And that's something to be proud of, that I did come from something to something else. And I don't ever want to disparage anyone because they are blue collar or they are white collar, because I have no idea how they got to where they are. And I think at the end of the day, that's what I see as kind of the answer to the paradox of tolerance. How should we exist in society? How does critical class consciousness work? Is that we all need to come together and think, look, I have no idea how you got to where you are. I don't need to have initial presuppositions on you. But then that bites the bullet of, do you have enough cognitive capacity for everyone you see to make clear distinctions and abstract from evidence, right? Probably not. So you're going to be stuck in this kind of loop of, I feel bad for judging someone, but at the same time, I don't have the cognitive capacity to not stereotype them. It goes into some of the work done by Daniel Kahneman and Tversky, Thinking Fast and Slow, as well as, I can't remember the sociologist who'd worked on stereotyping. There's a famous conservative sociologist. But I just wanted to reach out, let y'all know kind of what are the things that I've been thinking about. Sorry I haven't put out a lot of videos. I've been super busy. Life is coming at me like a really bad train wreck. But I'm here, I'm doing well, and I hope this has been informative, and I hope it kind of gives you a glimpse into why I get the conclusions that I do that may be different from other people. And with that, thank you for taking a walk with me through the Economicon.